It's that time. Put your hands together. Wait no longer. Make some noise and welcome your host and moderator, Kim Potts, and today's guest from Fear the Walking Dead, Debnam-Carey.
Woohoo, you are here.
I'm here.
You are here, everyone. Alicia Debnam-Carey, who plays Alicia. The fabulous Alicia on Fear the Walking Dead, and who is having a great season. I think the show, it's having its best season, and Alicia is having her best season.
Oh, and the best is yet to come, too.
Oh, do tell.
Well, the second half is just my favorite. It's all about to heat up. Everything she just goes into like a whole other level. It's like new game.
I love that. Well, let's go back to the beginning a little bit. When we first met Alicia, she was about to go off to UC Berkeley, this very good college, very prestigious college, and then, of course, not because of the apocalypse. And now
a few things got in the way.
A few things happened, little changes in the world. How do you think she has evolved from that Alicia to the Alicia that we see in season 3?
I think that's one of the fun things about this show for me has been the full evolution of a character going from one age to another age, being a teenager and being, having some very normal ambitions, being wanting to go to UC Berkeley and just having a boyfriend and it all being quite normal. And then now we see her actually as her own individual, and she's not a sister anymore. She's not just a daughter. She's her own person. And we just keep seeing that more and more. And it was hard at first because I think playing a teenager can be quite difficult. You have a stereotype that is already in place of what a teenage daughter sometimes is, which is, dismissive, a little petulant, like difficult at times, surly kind of thing. And so to be able to break out of that and have this character go through so much and so many traumatic experiences, you get to define them in very specific ways. And so that was really, really fun. And now we're at a place where she is her own person and having to take a lot more responsibility for her actions and make decisions. And it's great. Yeah.
She has been, to say the least, she's been rattled a few times. In the first season, the death of her boyfriend, Matt, who was, there's a lot of chaos in her family with Nick being a drug addict and her father, who Nick at least believes committed suicide. So there was probably a lot of depression there. Her mother is a very strong woman, but still, that probably was a pretty chaotic household.
Yeah.
And then the death of her boyfriend, who was kind of her touchstone. He was from a very kind of grounded family. In season 2, she had to kill someone to save someone else that she loved. In season 3, she loses that person then. Do you think that she is emerging to be as strong as her mother?
Yes. And I think in very different ways. There's elements of Madison that are quite... There's a rogue quality to her. There's an unpredictableness to Madison with what she might do, who she might manipulate, what she's willing to do, as we saw in the first half of this season. She did some pretty crazy things. And I think Alicia is going through all this too, but she's somehow managed to keep a sense of herself or a groundedness of searching for what matters and what she can hold on to. And we've seen that kind of existential struggle in the first half, and then this second half is really a testing point of how far will it take for her to snap, and then if that happens, like where you can, those morals and those ethics, where they come into play, so you don't necessarily become just a monster. And it's interesting, the second half with Madison, she starts talking about her father and, like what happened to her dad. And so those relationships, like I think you can either become your mother or you can become very different from your mother. And I think that's a balance that Alicia is aware of.
Do you mean that she's talking to her mother about Madison's father or about Alicia's father?
Madison's father.
Okay.
She talks,
the big reveal
the big reveal. But then that's the thing, Alicia has then her own father story that's very tragic in its own way.
Oh.
And I think that's, you know, with her telling it was a suicide. And,
Right.
and I think, yeah, you've got to, I think she wants to choose a different path for herself.
Okay. What do you think Alicia thought when she first heard that story from Madison about what Madison had done to her father as a child?
Oh, wait, which one?
I
Sorry,
know,
I was like,
we're getting,
my
I know,
head.
many fathers here.
It's like filming it was really hard. And then I just forgot which one we were talking about.
When Madison revealed in the first half of the season, she told Nick and Alicia that she had killed her father as a child. Alicia, I feel like she remained pretty strong and pretty tough in the face of finding that out, but I feel like she wasn't completely shocked either.
Yeah, I think throughout the entire, this story, but we've hinted at Madison knowing more than she lets on, or having been through a lot more than she lets on. Mm-hmm. And there's something always a little mysterious about her relationship with her father that we've kind of hinted at. So I do think for Alicia it didn't necessarily come as a I think there's something deeper, on a deeper level, that maybe it wasn't so shocking. Like she kind of had the potential, and that's where it's all come from. That's why she is the person she is. So it all that's one puzzle piece that makes everything fall into place.
Even for her daughter, she kind of understands now.
Now it's like, oh, I get it, and then she goes and does it again.
We, of course, do not want to spoil anything about the second half of the season, but the relationship, speaking of the relationship between Madison and Alicia, a lot of baggage has come out, a lot of it has come into play, and in this second half of the season, right away, we see that there is a lot of jockeying for position of leadership of the ranch since Jeremiah died in the mid-season finale.
Tragic way that he did.
Yes, and surprising way to Alicia. But Alicia, again, Madison is kind of in that race to become the new leader. Nick has a bit of a hand in it. Walker, the Otto brothers, of course. Alicia too, but I think what is so interesting, and again, not to spoil anything, but Alicia emerges as a contender for the leadership position as well. And she's not following anybody else's path. She's evaluating everything herself. It's incredible to see. I mean, that really is, I think she has as much potential as anyone else to become a leader for sure, and maybe even the leader at the ranch. What can you say about that?
I've always seen her as one of the more capable characters to be a leader in any form. I think she's so well, and we start to explore this a little bit more, obviously, in the second half. We see her elements of her really actively figuring out how to stay alive, and you see the way she applies her brain to survival and her smarts. We see her actively applying all these, these choices she's making, and the qualities she represents. I mean, she can speak Spanish. She's got a medical kind of history. Like, this is a character that's very, she's smart, and she's also grounded, and she somehow still manages to have an essence of right and wrong about her, which starts getting, muddled up and messed up in the apocalypse, and especially with Madison and Nick. And so I've always seen her as a very capable character to be a leader. And I think the first time it's really hinted at by any other character is Jake in the first half, where he says, well, anyone could be a leader of this place. And that might be the first moment of her considering, wait, I had never thought about it in that way before. And I think she starts to test that.
I recently saw a fan comment about Alicia, and someone said that they thought she was emerging as Fear the Walking Dead's version of Carol from Walking Dead, which is, I know, it's such a great comparison, right? I mean, do you guys think? And I think, again, in the second half of the season, we really, really see that because, again, not to spoil anything, but I think she's one of the few people on the ranch who is concerned with the bigger picture of things, and everyone, not just, Madison is very concerned about her family. That is her number one priority. But Alicia is kind of thinking of everyone, all the different groups, all the different interests, butting heads there. Where did this come from her? She is a strong character, but how is she seeing this big picture that no one else is?
I'm not really sure. That's a really good question. I I'm not sure if that comes from having dealt with so much fractures in her own family or in her life, and now seeing that and resisting against being with the family for so long. And so maybe now that she is at the ranch and she is seeing the potential and that it is maybe her only option, and they have, like, she, I think, yeah, it's born out of necessity. But again, I think there must be something to do with Madison's approach being quite manipulative in wanting to save her own family first at all times, and Alicia realizing that that's not really going to save everyone all the time. It's not going to work, and it hasn't. We've seen it fall apart before. So if anything, I think she's learning maybe from those mistakes.
She really does. I mean, that really is her a true leader quality that she has.
Yeah.
And I trust we're gonna, again, without spoilers, but we're gonna see that play out. We're gonna see that play out probably throughout the whole second half.
Oh yeah.
Okay. All right. What can you say about her, Alicia's relationships with other people in the second half? Jake. It starts off, I mean, they're definitely in a relationship.
Of sorts, yeah.
Of sorts. But he is still suffering a bit from the poison, some effects of that. How is that affecting her? I know it's
put me
hard.
in a tight spot here. There's a divide that starts to happen with a lot of the characters. We get to push them apart, and then they start to realize their responsibilities and what they can offer. And it's nice. We finally see Alicia as her own person, and she gets to test that out. I think her relationship with Jake is tested. There is that element of, you know, Madison wanting to take over the ranch, and then Jake kind of maybe questioning that and seeing some then doubt with Alicia's position in all of this, what their relationship actually is and what that means to her. There's a lot, and I don't know how to say any of it without spoiling it all.
Which we don't want.
No,
I mean, it was kind of
it's just like all your questions will be answered.
Not really.
If you watch on Sunday.
What about her relationship with Nick? I think it's one of the most interesting. We've seen it explored in little ways throughout the series, but I feel like there could be necessarily a big confrontation coming between them at some point. How she loves him, clearly she respects him, she cares about him and wants him to be well, but she has also said on a couple of different occasions, how do you know, now you have to deal with the benefits and not benefits of being mom's favorite. Yeah. How does she really feel about Nick at this point? How does she see him?
They do have a confrontation coming. And I've always loved this dynamic. I've always loved that relationship just because it's very unique. I think sibling relationships are very interesting. There's a lot of unspoken love that happens between two people that grow up and experience everything together and then just don't really talk about it. Like, it's just like, yeah, I guess we all experience it. You know, they just, you share that. And so there's this unspoken bond. And now they're forced together and they're very, very different people. They both start kind of having their own attempt at leadership, is what I can say.
Okay. I mean, she would have, it would be seem obvious that she would have
from AMC and be like, what are you doing?
You're doing very good, though, at giving us juicy little nuggets, but not giving anything away. You know, it's good. But I mean, you could see where there would be some resentment on her part because he has been the center of attention.
Well, that also starts to come like with Madison.
Okay.
Like the good thing is now the three of them are back together. We do see that it is really a Clark story. You know, for a while there it wasn't. It was sort of like, you know, he was off doing something else, like playing soccer with other people, and we were just, you know, just trying to survive. And you know, so the two of now that they're all, it's the three of them too. You know, Travis is no longer. So that really, for Madison, it gives her such a objective to keep the three of them safe. And then I think Nick starts to take upon a responsibility of his own that's kind of a bit interesting. And then Alicia's trying to unify the entire, whole, lot of us. So yeah, there's different positions everyone's taking. Right. And also just the struggle for power is really interesting as a subject. I mean, this is what we're really investigating when you've got a bunch of people in one place and it's the apocalypse. Communities are this push and pull of power. And you see it with The Walking Dead, and then our show, now we get to a real chance to explore that dynamic as well.
And it continues to be, I think it's been true on Fear the Walking Dead even more than the original series, that other humans are far scarier, are the far bigger threat. You guys really haven't dealt with as much with the walkers because the other humans have been so scary and challenging. And
yes, and how ambiguous humans can be, and how confusing and manipulative and not clear on what their their plans are. Do you know what it is? I don't know where I was going with that, but that's that.
It's true.
Life.
Alicia also has, again, for reasons that we can't spoil, but because of things that happened in season 3B, she has some interactions with people that she hasn't before, and some interactions with people that maybe her mother and brother haven't interacted with as much. Is that part of her kind of, again, emerging as this leader and evolving into a leadership position, that she's seeking out these relationships with people that aren't necessarily who her mother would, focus on?
Did you have some people in mind that you were thinking of?
Walker, I guess Walker a little less because of things that happened, but with the nation, the people that are there on the ranch.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I think because maybe she's had more of a openness to, I don't know. It's I guess when your mother's trying to keep you together and always undermine your position as your own person, not consciously. I don't think it's not like I'm trying to make you always, be like my little duckling. It's it's I guess that kind of need to see how it is somewhere else and see how other people are coping. It's a mix of things, so that's the thing. Because also, when you've got one kid, I keep referring to this. It's the family tree. When you have the golden child, I mean, in her eyes, there's that idea that she'll try and. I think she stopped trying to overcompensate for that. Mm-hmm. So now she's like, all right, I want to figure out how to. How my mother wouldn't do it, I guess.
No, that makes total sense. She really is finding her strength and her leadership in that.
And in awkward situations, I mean, a lot of them have not been of her own making, but, finding Walker and being then there with him and seeing the helicopter that they've shot down and seeing how, his power over the people, he has.
Yeah.
All those elements, she's really able to witness them and kind of through osmosis. I think she's, thinking it all through.
Well, speaking of her relationship with Madison, you were asked at San Diego Comic-Con how you would like Alicia to die if and not that is going to happen anytime soon because she is right in the middle of things. So no, but I know. But you said that you would want.
Good, guys. It's all good.
Yes, it's really. We're not suggesting it's going to happen. But you suggested that you thought it would be interesting and most dramatic if she died at Madison's hand.
Yeah, I think that would be the ultimate tragedy in a way. Mm-hmm. Don't you think? The one thing you're trying to keep alive and really try and and then to have your own mother kill you or something? I mean, if we're just thinking of something crazy.
You've upset everyone great. Maybe we should not have asked this question.
I think it's, it's fun to think about these things. I know a lot of people I would want to be a zombie and walk around in that kind of makeup and blood. And I've seen everyone just do it for a day. And I'm I do not want to be doing that. I'd be sick of it. And I think about 10 seconds. I'd be okay, I'm done now. Take it off. But I think story-wise, it would be really fun. Or if you had like the two siblings have a standoff or something like that. Like that could be really cool. I just think something really dramatic would be really fun.
But like 20 seasons down the line,
Oh,
we're
yeah.
thinking, yeah, for sure. I think we're ready to start getting some audience questions in here.
Hi, Alicia.
Hi.
My question for you is, if there was ever a crossover between the original series and this one, who would you like to see Alicia like teaming up with or bonding with in the show?
I've always said Maggie would be a good one, just because I think like that's a good duo. I think I'd really like to see that, you know, girl power.
Definitely.
Yeah, so I think that would be my crossover dream. Yeah, thank you. Hi.
So my question is more like broad as an actress. We've seen Alicia go through a lot. Like you said, you kind of started with the breaking that mold of like a teenage character to potentially being a leader in season 3. What's something that as an actress, I don't know if you've already done it in the second half, but that you haven't maybe portrayed on screen yet or haven't been able to do that you really want to tackle like in the future, maybe with fear or maybe with a different project?
I'd love to. I feel like a lot of what I have done has been apocalyptically based, which has been really, really fun. But I would love to do something that was in a completely different realm. I think that's what's so fun about this job is you get to explore so many different time periods and accents and characters. I would love to do something that would just be completely removed. So I recently I was sort of watching a lot of like 50s movies and I was just thinking, oh my God, it'd be so great to be wearing like, I don't know, do a period piece in the 50s or something like that would be excellent, or like a Southern thing, or I don't know, literally just maybe something that's not apocalyptic at this point. Yeah.
Hi, Alicia.
Hi.
I'm a big fan and I'm really glad you're here.
Oh, thanks.
My question is, as an actress, you were put in a very difficult position last year, and I think you've handled yourself with extreme grace, and I've been just incredibly impressed in how you've taken your time and spoke about, I mean, you've had a lot of eyes on you. Not many people have to deal with this. And I wanted to know, do you still feel that pressure? Is this something, like how is this affected, because you've been very vocal about wanting Alicia to have a lot of individuality on the show.
Thank you. That's a really thoughtful question. I really think it's a really nice question. I think it was important for me to take my time with this sort of stuff because I think words are starting to mean a little less now. There's just so much traffic for verbal diarrhea now. It's just like you can tweet about everything, you can post about everything, everything's 1,000 words, everything's like constant thread of information, and it's really hard to pick out the right times for it to formulate in your head and then really mean something. And I've never been that person that can, you know, quickly formulate my entire idea on or perspective on one thing. I think for me, it's always, I've wanted to have the full perspective of it before I talk about it properly. And so I think last year especially, you know, when there were a lot of questions about certain things, I just wanted to make sure that I was being thoughtful about it, and it was coming from multiple points of view rather than just like how you feel in one given moment. I know, well-rounded. I would like to think it has become easier. Just because I think the more and more you deal with it, the more comfortable you become of knowing how you trust your voice and when you feel comfortable, and knowing that you don't have to feel pressured from other people of when you should talk about things or how. Or there's a lot of pressure now being a public figure. You are expected to be political, and you have to be, you know, stylish, and you have to be good at your job, and you have to be a vocal piece, and they're all incredible platforms, but I've always been quite a perfectionist, and so if I want to do something, I really want to be thoughtful about it and do it meaningfully. Yeah, because I would really hate to look back in like 10 years and just be like, what were you thinking? Just shut your mouth. Like, I don't know. Yeah.
That was a good question.
My question for you is there any chance that you will attend the Las Vegas Lexicon in April?
I didn't know about that, but we are also filming in that time. We film in November, and then we go right through to, I think, June, I think. I don't know. Yeah. Those things are always hard because it's always scheduling. Sorry.
You are back in town, I think, for New York Comic Con, though, right?
Yes, we are coming
In
back for
October.
New York Comic Con. Yeah.
Very exciting, yes.
Yeah, no, I am. We're going.
They're here.
We're here. You got the whole lot of us.
Yes.
Do.
One more question.
Hi, Alicia.
Hi.
What was your inspiration that led you to audition for this role, and what have you gained from portraying Alicia?
Truly, it was necessity because I didn't have a job, and I needed one. I remember actually when I was auditioning, well, just before I auditioned for this, there was a pilot I did, and then we found out it didn't go through, and I was like, oh no, what am I going to do? And especially in the early years, like when you're, trying to, do this, there's a lot of that, of just, waiting and trying to find out and auditioning and constant, back and forth. But it was nice because so it just came very easily. So once I had the audition, they were already testing, I kind of went in for it, and it just was one of those things where it just worked and it was right. And it's always when it's least expected, but it just kind of then within a week, it was like, and great.
Wow.
There we go. Yeah, it was very, very fast.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's the way it should always happen, right?
I mean, you'd hope so,
Yeah.
but never.
We have another question.
Hey, Alicia.
Hi.
How do you feel the experience of being a part of the Fear the Walking Dead and, has changed you as an actress? And on a personal level, since you have the same name in real life as in the show, does it affect you mentally to have people call you Alicia all day and like you're not getting off, stage in some way?
That is a good question.
That is a good question. Not as much as I would have thought, to be honest. In my head, it is divided, which sounds crazy. I realize as I said that out loud. But it is spelt differently. There is, it's she has a different accent. There's a whole kind of other side of that completes that character. So for me, it is different. But I will say, when I first auditioned, it was actually the character was Ashley, and so it wasn't until I got to the read through with the AMC execs and like the entire cast, and suddenly I looked at the script and I was like, why does it say my name? I'm like, this is weird, and they've spelt it wrong. And so but I do think it's curious that they didn't change it, but no, it hasn't bothered me too much. And actually, while we were filming in Mexico, in Spanish, Alicia is Alicia, so it was kind of different anyway, which kind of worked out well. Yeah, but yeah.
Thank you so much. I think, unfortunately, we have to wrap up and let Alicia go, but let's give it up for her because she is amazing.
Thanks, guys.
The second half of the season is amazing. It starts Sunday at 9 p.m. on AMC. Do not miss 2-hour premiere.
2 hour.
Lots of stuff happening, and it is amazing. Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for being here.
Thank you so much, guys.